Today's podcast is presented by Podgo. Podgo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from Podgo. Apply today to become a member and immediately be connected with advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co at podgo.co. And be sure to add the Slang Self-Doubt podcast in the How Did You Hear About Podgo section of the application. You're listening to the Slang Self-Doubt podcast, where we empower women of faith to identify, acknowledge, and accept their doubts and limits and beliefs in order to give birth to their God-given purpose. Join me and sometimes some of my friends on our journey as we remind you that you are not alone. I'm Felicia Wallace, and together we will find our fears and slay them. Welcome back to another episode of the Slang Self-Doubt podcast. I am here with Alicia Watson from Ali Watson Media. Hey.
Hey, how are you?
I am great. So I like to always give like a little backstory of like how I know people and just like how we connect, right? So I know that you know me through my sister, which is probably how everybody in PG County knows me. It's through my sister because she is the social one and I'm the one that's just like, hi, like so weird. But I think also like we have like our paths has intertwined a couple of different times because your son was a part of the Because of Them We Can campaign. My sons were a part of that Because of Them We Can campaigns, like cousins, churches, all of the things. It's just like this was inevitable. I think it was really this was supposed to happen. But I really wanted you on here because I read your book, and you guys, when we get into it, y'all are going to read it too. I'm already telling you. And I was just like, oh my goodness, this is going to be just a great conversation, and I need to have her on the show. So I am so excited that you are here. I know you, and I'm sure Buffy knows you when she sees the name of who's going to be on today, but the audience doesn't know you. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started?
Okay. Thank you so much for having me, first of all, Felicia.
Oh, you're welcome.
Really love your podcast. It's right up my alley, because I'm a mindset person.
Yeah.
So I'm always trying to figure myself out, figure other people out, and just see how we can get like closer to our purpose and closer to serving God. So it's right along like the lines of the things I'm thinking. I find myself just yesing the whole time, or just really vibing with it, because it's like, yes, that's for me. I was right there. I'm right there with you. Tracking, every time I listen to it. So I just want to commend you and thank you first and foremost for, stepping out on faith and doing it, because it really is a blessing to me and so many other people.
I received that.
Thank you.
I received all of it.
Thank you. Okay. And so for me, I'm Alicia. I am a mother of two, a wife of one. I consider myself a multi-hyphenate creative entrepreneur, just because I wear so many hats. So Ali Watson Media is my first brand. I'm also an author, like you said, of Secret Donuts. And I have my own podcast, which is Maybe You're Like Me with Alicia Watson.
Which is
and then lastly, thank you, ma'am. And lastly, I have a company that I run with my husband and my family, which is the Watson Clan Productions. And that's just we're a worship and arts ministry. So we're a very creative, artistic family in general. My husband and I met because we were both in theater. I'm gonna stop smacking like that. Excuse me. We met. It bothers me when I'm editing. So we met when we were both in theater. We're both from Michigan, first and foremost.
Oh, wow.
We're both from Michigan. Yeah, it's crazy. We met here in the DC area. He went to Howard. I moved down after school because my family was here. My family's since moved on, so we're here alone. Everybody else is still in Michigan. But we met through I was in an acting group. It was a ministry group, a nonprofit organization, and a friend introduced us. So I was going to act in his play. He had cast me. I was too busy, but we started to talk. And from there, it was just like, just fireworks.
Look
Literally, our
how
first
it
date was
works
for.
though. You was gonna act in this play, and look, you was the main star now, huh?
What? Yeah, he cast me as the lead. I
Oh
was like, no, I'm
yes.
too busy for you, sir. But but we kept in contact. We kept talking. Our first date was actually the 4th of July, so there were literal fireworks.
Oh
Our wedding was theater themed. All of our table cards were introductions to Black playwrights. So we've always had a theater background. And so
yeah,
what got me started in videography is that he had done a play and then he had it recorded. And I was like, oh, I could totally do that. And then also, when you're doing plays, it takes a really long time to get from start to finish. And I just really figured, like, if we recorded it and put it on film, we can get the messages out that we wanted to create further and faster into the world.
yeah.
So that was probably the first foray into like the thought of being an entrepreneur.
Mm.
But I just, when we talk about self-doubt, the first thing that popped in my mind is I don't have the personality type for it.
Oh.
I'm not like what I would see, representations on TV and in film of like how you have to be like a pit bull in a skirt,
Yeah,
just like super just type A, fierce, ferocious. And I'm just really a very empathetic, chill background, cheerleader type of person. I love to push
yeah,
people out and, support people, although I'll do things myself, but I'm kind of a lone, a lone ranger, which
yeah.
actually works for my business now. And I'll get to that later. But, and so I started that business. I was working for the government. I worked for the government for 9 years. And it got to the point where I felt like it was time to leave and go full time. And so I talked to my husband and we actually took maybe like a full year to make the decision because he was doubtful. He wasn't sure. He's the practical one. I'm like the
Yeah.
dreamer and the visionary. And so I made the leap. I've been full time in Ali Watson Media for 7 years now.
Yes.
It's been an up and down roller coaster of a crazy ride, but it's probably been the best thing that could have happened to me because it has really taught me so much about myself.
Yeah.
It taught me so much about the things that I actually want in life. It came at a time, I think, where most of us, you get to like 35 to 45, and it's just that redefining time in your life where you're like, oh, actually, that was a lie. Whatever I was going for that y'all told me to strive for, I got it, and I'm not happy. So what do I really want?
Wow.
And in the midst of entrepreneurship, it really accelerated that process of figuring that out and really figuring myself out. And so a lot of the self-doubt that I've had has also been answered by being in this position to have to answer it. Having a job and a 9 to 5 with a check that comes in every week leaves you in kind of a space of comfort. Leaves you in a space where you kind of can plan for things and have some dreams and goals. And, there's some consistency there. So you're like, by this time we're going to have, when you're an entrepreneur, there's all kinds of stuff up in the air. There's all kinds of like mental health things that you go through, having to trust yourself and force yourself to do so many things. And then, it's a lot. So
no, it was a couple of things that you said that I was just like, no, that is so true. I definitely think, I've only been on this entrepreneurship journey for 2 years now. It'll be 2 years, which is still is amazing to me, right? But it does push you to levels that a regular 9 to 5 would not, because you're in the constraints of someone else's dream, someone else's like idea, someone else's vision, and so you're just one part of it, right? But when it's yours, you like, no, all of this got to work in order for me not to go back to work. Like this all has to work, or else it's for nothing, right? And so you're like, what? How can I do a little bit more, but not not drain myself, so that I can still show up for my kids, still show up for my marriage, like all of those things, these competing priorities is just like, what the crap? But I think the other thing is that in entrepreneurship, which we'll get to, is that I believe that for me, I feel like my self-doubt showed up even louder, right? Because again, you are only dealing with, even if you're working a 9 to 5, however you may show up there, it kind of gets covered, or masked by other stuff, right? Because you can
Yeah.
kind of be like, oh, you can push certain things off to certain people, or you
Mm-hmm.
can, oh, I can't do that. No, you can do it. It's fine. Go ahead. You take. But when it's just you like, oh no, you want me? So I gotta talk in front of
Yeah.
on camera.
Right. Really? I gotta say
So
that.
nobody
Right.
else here can do it for me. Okay, so
Okay.
we're doing this, aren't we? And I
Yeah.
think it just kind of it forces you to have to look at yourself. And you're right, like
Yeah.
get to this. I just turned 40, and so like at this place is like, okay, I feel like I've done a lot of things, but
Yes.
not that I'm not happy, but I know that there's more. I know that I
Mhm.
can do more, and I want to feel not just happy, but like full. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like you want
Absolutely.
that joy that nobody can take, that you're like,
Yes.
this is, man, I get goosebumps every time I do this, and it's like I wasn't getting that at work. I was just like
Mm-hmm.
another, it's like that commercial. It's like not another day, with the parrot. Where
Right.
you like,
Another day. Yeah.
yes. So you started talking about it, but how has self-doubt showed up in your journey? I told y'all, imposter syndrome is real. When I'm in those moments of doubt and anxiety, I ask myself, who's going to listen to you? Did God really call you to do this? Or, girl, ain't nobody trying to pay you to talk to them? These thoughts lead me to procrastination and being paralyzed by my fears and doubts. Throughout this journey of slaying my own self doubt, I have some tried and true practical steps that have helped me, and I would love to share them with you. Head on over to my website at www.feliciawallace.com and download the 5 ways to slay your self doubt. Now back to the show.
Oh man. Oh, it's so many ways, and so many ways. Because the thing is, well, what you're talking about, especially with the being in business and having the ability to delegate, being in the corporate world or government, having the ability to delegate things,
Yeah.
and having other distractions as where it doesn't all depend on you. That for me has been one of the key components of it, because I'm an achiever. I'm a high achiever. I've always been in my entire life, and so one thing that I always noticed that, like, when you go into entrepreneurship, you really have to define success for yourself.
Yes.
Because if the only marker of success is how much money you make,
you fail it every day.
Yes. And you're gonna be chasing that thing, and you're gonna get it, and you're not going to be happy, because that really wasn't what your marker of success is.
Yeah.
And so I think where it showed up for me most is that I started out with that. I started out with that idea of I had to do this right, or I had to do it in a way where I replaced my income in the first 6 months, or I did, exactly what I thought the business would do.
Yeah.
And when it didn't do what I had planned for it to do, or what I wanted it to do, or I found that there were areas that I wasn't as versed in, and things that I had to learn, I had to contend with the fact that I am a recovering perfectionist, right? And so that perfectionism shows up so strongly in mostly everything I do.
Yeah.
And I had to first deal with that, because that really aligns itself with my self-doubt. If I can't do it right, then I'm not qualified to do it at all. If I can't do it right, maybe I need to go back to work and get, and every time, I love my husband because he's so supportive, because I'd be like, I should just get a job, right? And he'd be like, nope. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? Don't you want what? Why you want to be on the show? Just let me go. And but he knows that it's not for me to do it the easy way. Like, this is he's in a series right now talking about the wilderness season. And this whole journey is a wilderness season for me, because I have to learn what I have to learn. Like when Jesus went to the wilderness before starting his ministry, there were some things I need to be tested on. There were some character traits that God has to develop in me, to get me past the spaces where there is self-doubt. So the first thing that he had to show me is that I deal with perfectionism. And when I thought of perfectionism early on in my life, it was a badge of honor. Like, I like things right. I do things good. And it's like, no, it's an obstacle, because that perfectionism causes your procrastination. That perfectionism causes you to beat yourself up and beat yourself down when things don't go right. You don't offer yourself the grace and compassion that I would offer you. It does not look like me. I am perfect. You are not. So
Yeah.
for you to take that space and try to be perfect,
Come
you're
on.
not serving me, you're trying to serve yourself. And
Woo!
the reason I'm trying to serve myself is because the perfectionism is something that I can control, where there is no doubt, no
Ugh.
certainty, because I won't be rejected if I am perfect, which is an early seed that was planted in my life, and it's like, and we can get to the book too, because I've been a high achiever, but I've been a high achiever all my life, because that as a child was what made people bring me closer to them. And as a heavier child, the fat kid, it felt like that was the place where people, teachers, children, family members all pushed me away,
Yeah.
And so I laced my identity in straight A's, student of the month, going to my teacher's house, standing on recess and grading papers, like being the best of the best of the best of the best.
Yes.
Like everywhere I go, I had to be the captain, the leader, the co-captain, the manager, the this, the that, because I have to elevate myself, because that is the only place that I can control the fact that you won't reject me if I'm better. Then you know what I mean? If I
Yeah.
show
Oh,
up
I
and give you
know.
this
Cause
value.
listen, I'm over here like she is reading me. Like I'm like, it's like all the things
I
of
told
like,
you.
listen, I like if we could pass the collection plate, we can go ahead right now, y'all, because I know y'all felt all of that, because I had goosebumps, I had chills, I had all the feels, because you are so right. Like all of those things, like the perfectionism leading to procrastination, and the control, and understanding, especially when we talk about walking in purpose, right? It's not our purpose. So you can't control it. That's the reason why it don't work when you put your hands on it, because
That's it.
it's not your purpose. It's God's purpose for you. We're
Yeah.
just his vessels. And so
Yeah.
for a very long time, just in this short period, I've had to learn that very quickly. Like, okay, sis, if you're going to keep operating in your own strength, you're going to be stuck. And, my husband is not as gracious as your husband is. He like, how long you supposed to be trying this?
he like things too, huh?
Right, yeah. He,
Right.
he like, okay, we were, I'm on the agreement with you, and I want you to do it to your best
Right.
ability. But is there a time limit when we get that first check? Like, what is it? It's about stability and
Yeah.
security and those, and
Yes.
I totally get all of that, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
it's not working, and it's like those, like you said, wanting to replace your income and wanting to, and thinking, you know what, I was better off at work. Like I did that with ease. I did that.
Yep.
Like everybody loved me there. Everybody,
Yep.
I could go back and get my old job. Like I could today. Let me just go apply and say, hey y'all, my bad. I just needed to take a rest real quick.
Need a
I'm
breather.
just come right back. Right.
Right.
And it's like every single time I've even thought about getting a job, nothing. Like literally it'll
Wow.
either be something comes up that says, like, somebody will reach out to me about doing something that reminds me, no, this is where you're supposed to be. Or
Yep.
when I have tried to like reach out, it'd be like crickets. Like, oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
that's not it. But no, yeah, I love, and I've heard people say like a recovering perfectionist before, and
Yeah.
I've always kind of been like, I don't think I'm a perfectionist. But as I told everybody knows I'm a proponent for therapy. Being in therapy, and whenever I say certain things to her, she'd be like, so that's a part of perfectionism. And I'm like, I don't think I'm a, but the reality is that it shows up differently, right? When I think of perfect, I think like everything has to be a certain type of way. And well, I
Yeah.
guess that is I guess that is me. Everything do have to be a certain type of way, depending on what it is.
But man, I agree with you, because you think of that as being like almost a badge of honor, where it's like everything's good, and it's good to be perfect. It's good
Yeah.
to want things in alignment, but it's like, no, that's not what the perfectionism is. The
Yeah.
perfectionism is that you want things to be in alignment for a reason.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily because it's a compulsion, or it's up, you don't have like OCD or something.
Yeah.
It's because you're trying to get something. I posted a quote that I found that like has fit my season perfectly, and it's do it from love, not for love. And what God is revealing to me in this season is that so much of what I've done, and so much of who I've identified with, and who I've thought of myself as in the past, has been because I'm doing things for people, so that people can acknowledge, how good of a person I am, so that they don't
Man.
reject me. And so I
Wow.
think I'll get back to like where you were asking. So what I had to learn in terms of my journey of slaying self-doubt is that I'm safe. I'm accepted, I'm loved,
Wow.
you know, and the more that I lean into that, and the more that I accept that, the better I am at
Yeah.
recovering from perfection, the better I am at serving from a place of compassion and um and righteousness and neutrality, like where it's a benevolent place, as
Yeah.
opposed to something where I'm trying to pull on people or trying to get myself validated by people,
Ooh.
which is dangerous. It
Yeah.
becomes toxic, because that's where I start to, like, this is a season where I'm learning that I'm a banisher. Like, I start to as soon as you disappoint me, I let very little people in, but when you disappoint me, it's like, all right, you're out.
Right. Yeah.
Next, you
Listen.
know, cancel. There's a personal cancel culture that I
Yeah.
have that God is like, that's not how this operates.
Yeah.
That's not how this works. We can't just, did I cancel you? Like, where's the forgiveness? And it's just like, well, God, I'm a terrible person. Yes, but let me get you more like me. Here's
Yeah.
why you're doing this. It's
Yeah.
because you feel like you have to reject people first, right? And that's because you're trying to pull things from them. If you just serve them and get your love from me, then you have an overflow to give to people, as opposed to feeling like they're sucking everything out of you.
Oh,
You know, you don't have to protect yourself. You know, you're safe.
Yeah.
Put your trust in me.
Yeah.
You know, and for so long I've trusted in people because of this, all of this doubt that shows up as, if I'm not perfect, then I can't be loved and accepted. I will be rejected, you know, and it's deep down inside. Like, obviously I'm not. There's so many people that love me.
Right.
So many people that care about me. So many people that will show up for me at any time. Like, just make the call, right?
Yeah.
But on the inside, anytime one person, even a peripheral person, you know, you got your circles.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
Even a person on like that third layer of circles, if they do something, I'm like, oh, see,
all
right?
y'all.
Right. I told you I want nothing.
Right.
And it's
yes.
like, no, that's not it. You know,
Yeah.
and so it's like getting back to the root of where those seeds were planted. And it's very young. And the enemy comes for you so young, which is why I'm so intent on just filling up my children with words that they can use to tell the truth to themselves. Like, you slay self-doubt with truth. How do you change a belief with new information, right? If you believe yourself to be, I'm a terrible person because, you know, I gossip, you know, but it's like, if you believe that, you're going to continue to gossip,
right.
because that's what you've defined yourself as.
Yeah.
Instead, you change that belief with like, well, no, I'm not a gossip. I just probably need to tell this person what I feel.
Right.
And sometimes I hold these things in, and it feels like a release to tell other people about it. And maybe I'm just afraid to be rejected by them. But no, I'm loved and I'm safe. So I can take my concerns to this person. And what they do with it is not my responsibility.
Yes.
How they receive it is not my responsibility, but it is my responsibility to not take a toxic behavior and talk about them behind their back, but go to them in love and with compassion, confess my sin, you know, confess what I've been doing, get understanding, because here's the belief: I'm gossiping because I feel like you've offended me in a way. But if I get the truth, then I can work from that. So maybe you are trying to be offensive, but then I can, you know what I mean?
We're getting a whole lesson here, y'all. I'm telling you. This right here, but this is one of the things that I love about having this platform and being able to have people to share their stories and their journeys, because you know, self-doubt shows up in so many different ways, and how we all deal with it is completely different, right?
Absolutely.
And if even for myself, like, I take a little bit from every single person that I talk to, and I say, you know what, that is such a good idea, because the reality is that your self-doubt will show up in different ways at different times with different people, and the response will always have to be different. You're not going to be able to just flip out, you know, everywhere you at, or you know, sometimes, like, I know I'm a crier when it comes to certain things, right? I'm not going to be able to cry in the middle of every single thing. So you have to be able to have these tools and these resources in your belt to be able to say, okay, well, right now what's going to have to come up is this, so that I am able to receive whatever it is. I have to not let this third, like you say, like this third person, whatever they did, affect what's going on. Because the thing about it is that once we start to, and I'm speaking for myself, but I'm pretty sure other people will relate. Once you start to go down that path of self-doubt, and you allow yourself to just like oh, well, it's me for, I promise you, it'd be like
Mhm.
3 seconds. And that
Mm.
3 seconds turns into 1 minute, and 1 minute
Yep.
turns into five turns into an hour turns into half
Yep.
the day, a half a day turns into the day. And then you be like, it's Monday. What have I been doing all week? And it's like,
Right.
it started here because one thing happened and you took you went down this rabbit hole, and then it's so
Mhm.
hard to dig yourself out of it.
Oh my
But if
God.
you're learning in those moments, like you said, to retrain, like talk to yourself differently. No, that's not
Yep.
true. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um that's not accurate. One of the things that I had for me is I had to start doing it, because when I'm working and I'm sitting at my desk, and if I'm podcasting or working on stuff, I will get so like, this is not my ministry. I don't even know why I'm doing like that
Yeah.
whole thing.
Mhm.
And I had an assignment in my coaching class where we had to ask people, randomly ask people to name 3 adjectives that, like, get ask a person that three adjectives that describe you. So I sent text
Mhm.
messages out to people, and I wrote it down. So I have it lit. I had to move it from where it was to put it next to my computer to remind me of what other people see in me,
I
right?
love it. Yeah.
Because what I see ain't what everybody else sees, right?
Mm.
Because I'm filled with doubt, I'm filled with anxiety, I'm filled
Yeah.
with my own, I guess now,
Perspective.
perfectionism.
Mhm.
I'll
Mhm.
accept it, and eventually I'll be recovering, because I didn't even know I was a perfectionist until today. At least I wasn't accepting it
All
anymore.
right.
But now I'm able to look at this list and be able to say, okay, this person thinks that I'm supportive. This person thinks I'm caring. But somebody said I was self motivated, and if I'm like
Wow.
me, I'd be like, me, like I don't see that, right? But if other people are able to see that in you, that means it's there. It comes
Yeah.
out naturally
Absolutely.
to the people who see you, right? And
Yeah.
so if someone else is saying something that doesn't align with this, I'm like, well, that's because you don't know me. Because these people said this is
Yes.
all that I am, right?
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. That is, I think, perfect for when you have those doubts, because like I said, there's a seed that's been planted, and you've been listening to it like almost your entire life. So you
Mhm.
have to uproot that seed with seeds of truth, and going to people. I love Brene Brown. You familiar
Yes,
with
that
Brene
is
Brown?
my
I
girl.
love
I
her.
love her.
I think enduring greatly, or maybe it was something I was watching, because I would watch a lot of her interviews. But one thing that she said was that she kept that little a note card, like little
Mhm.
tiny like square note card full of like 6 people whose opinions matter to her,
Yeah.
and she keeps it with her. And so that when something else, like someone else says something, when she gets comments on the internet or someone comes at her negatively, she can pull out that piece of paper and look at those 6 names and say, did that come from one of these 6 names?
Right.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. And I just love that concept of really just defining again what matters to you,
Yeah.
because I think the doubt shows up when we're trying to do the impossible, which is to be
Yes.
everything to everybody.
Yeah.
And we cannot. Like
Yeah.
Jesus was, polarizing. Beyonce is polarizing. Like
Right.
everybody that we love and that we hate simultaneously is polarizing,
Yeah.
and that's because they have picked the platform, picked the side, picked the thought, picked the idea, picked something and stood on that.
Yeah.
And I think when we can stand in our own truth, when
Mm.
we can stand in who it is that God has made us to be, stand in what it is that God has told us to do, and exactly in the way that He's told us to do it, we become polarizing,
Yeah.
right? Somebody's not going to agree with that. Somebody's not going to like that. It might be because of whatever they're going through, their trauma, their toxic
Yeah.
behaviors, their understanding, their misunderstanding. And it might be because they love us and they don't want us to feel hurt. They don't want us to feel harmed. They don't want us to be in trouble. But ultimately, if you understand your truth and you're willing to stand in it, then your confidence is built so much
Mhm.
more. I think you were
Yes.
talking about it the other day, like one of the podcasts I was listening to, you quoted Judges 6. And that is one of my favorite biblical characters, which is Gideon,
Yes.
because of like if there's anybody who felt self-doubt, it was him. And I
Yes.
love the way that God walked with him through
Mhm.
every stage of that, throughout the assignment that He
Yes.
told him to do. And you can watch him visibly get more and more confident
Yeah.
in what he was doing, because what happened, like he started with this list of beliefs that he told
Mhm.
the angel, like, I'm the least of my
Right.
family's the least of the tribes of Israel, and we here and we doing this, and where is God? And y'all said God gonna show up,
Yes.
and I don't see God showing up. And the angel's like, face palm, I'm here.
Right.
I'm trying to show you, you mighty warrior. Who a mighty warrior? Be a mighty warrior. Yes, you a mighty warrior. You know, but like that's the vision that God had for him that he had to learn about. One of my favorite scriptures, and I don't know if it applies to people, but I apply it to myself, which is, it is the glory of God to conceal a matter, and the honor of kings to seek it out. And as I study myself, I feel like it's the glory of God to conceal the me that he's created me to be within the depths of me. And it is my honor to continue to seek out who it is that he has created me to be. You know, and that comes in every day that I live, and every situation that I live through. It's going to be a little different because there's new information that I'm operating in. You know, there are times in my life where I felt like I was way more equipped, way more together than I am right now, but I wouldn't trade who I am right now for that person.
Absolutely.
Because of how far God has brought me into understanding and knowing myself. And I feel like I'm getting closer and closer to getting out of the fullness of the wilderness season to fully walk in the purpose that he has for me. But it goes back to being able to stand in in the timeline that he has for you, you know, and if you have an idea of a timeline, or you feel you let the internet rush you,
right?
You know, you let people rush you, then you don't allow the trust in God, and like, this is the season I have you in. You know, if you're not making the $1 million in a month, you know, if you're not doing this, if you're not doing that other people define as successful, and you take your eyes off of me, that's going to be on you. That's where the doubt is going to show up. That's where the confusion shows up. That's where you're detouring, you're off the path. That's where you feel like you're wasting time. The very time that you felt like you didn't have, you're wasting. If you would just stay on the path, let me light it. Let my word be a lamp unto your feet, a guide on your path, and just go with me. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not unto your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge me, and I'll tell you which way to go.
Are you sure preacher is not listed in one of these titles that you had? Because I promise you, this is a whole sermon right here. Okay.
I don't mean to preach. I'll just be like, I'm so passionate about my platform on the Alicia Watson is helping. We're getting over it, aligned with God into our purpose. That's it. Like, because we all have something, because it's intended for us to have something. He puts a thorn in our side. There's something that he's going to tempt us with, that he's going to, not God, but the enemy, is going to put into our path to force us to stay out of that purpose that God has created us for. Like, where we're living that abundant life now, because we feel that fullness, that we feel that joy in everything that we're doing. But he'll set up these distractions. And you said it so good. Like, I will get one thing, you know, like I'm dealing with jealousy right now in my marriage, you know, because of something that happened like 8 years ago, because we have all this time to deal with it. But if it's one thing that I feel like is just, it can be random. It's like a too fast silence phone call. And I'm like, who was that? What was that? You know what I mean? And then I spiral and I'm on the floor, and it turns into, it was a phone call, and it develops into, you ain't this, you ain't that, you're nothing, and I'm in the bed. And it's like, you did that on purpose. You knew the phone call was a telemarketer. You knew I was going to see it. You know what I mean? And I saw it, and I wasted a day that I feel like I don't have, that I could be devoted to getting things done, building my own confidence, getting past that doubt with action, you know, but no, I'm laying in the bed feeling a certain way about myself, because that's the design, you know, it's designed to do that.
And the thing about it is that we know the enemy is not, like, he ain't crafty. He gonna use the things that he knows is going to get you. But that made me think, because you brought up Brené Brown, was the thing that one of the things I think I was listening. I can't remember what it was either, because you know, you read everything, you listen to her, it's just all jumbled together, right? You just know it's her. But it's something that she said in like a conversation she was having with her husband, and she was saying how she was feeling, right? And it was a game changer for me. She said, but the story I'm telling myself is, and I was like, ooh, that is so good, because we know, like, some stuff is just facts that something happened, right? But what that thing that happened triggered a thought, and then this whole movie, like you say, it plays out in your head of this demise that's happening, right? Instead of just, and sometimes I have to do it to myself. I have to be like, you know, this person didn't show up. Like, I had somebody who was supposed to, I got on, they weren't here, and I'm like, I did all the things right, and so I'm like, you know, maybe this person don't want to work with me no more. This the third time they done, you know, all these things, and I just was like, you know, okay, this person didn't show up. Maybe what it is the Lord is telling me she don't need to be on the show. Like I didn't keep trying,
Mhm.
instead of making it about me, maybe
Yeah.
it's something that's like, instead of me taking it and being like, oh gosh, woe is me, it's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
maybe this is a sign that you need to just move on. Thanks. Third time's a charm. I'm good, and let's just keep it
Yes.
moving versus taking it, internalizing it. Now I'm degrading what I'm doing, and now it
Yeah.
serves no purpose. Now I'm looking for a job. All of these things
Mhm.
start to happen, and it's like, no, that wasn't for you. It did not happen the way you think or thought that it happened. It's our thoughts, it's our doubts, it's all of
Mhm.
those things that definitely showed up.
Yeah.
But I totally understand that. So as you are talking about your journey, and like, what I love about you telling your story is that, one, I told you in the beginning, I'm very visual, right? And so like I can, and because you're into, theater and video, like it's like
I'm
everything is like,
dramatic.
yeah, but not even, it's not drama. It's
Okay.
like you can see it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's
Okay.
like, oh man, I enjoy stuff like that. Like, cause if I can visualize it, I feel like I'm there, just like,
Yeah.
but as you talking about your journey, it's like I can visualize like these ups and downs. They're like a roller coaster type thing, right? And then you
Yes.
come in to know yourself and come in to see the things and being like, oh, okay, let me add this to the basket of me knowing who
Mhm.
I am so that I can walk into this fullness of myself. So, what have you learned about yourself during this journey that you didn't know before? When I first started posting on social media for the podcast, oh my goodness, it was a disaster. I did not know what I was doing. I was guessing at everything. Then things shifted for me when I got introduced to three platforms that changed the game for me. I started using Canva for my graphics, Caption Writer for my captions, and Wave for the audiograms. Seriously, if you go back to the beginning of the Slaying Self Doubt Instagram page, you will see the transformation. If you are in the process of branding or rebranding yourself, I recommend you try out these platforms. Canva has hundreds of templates that you can choose from to design any type of post you desire. Caption Writer allows you to create and save your captions with the perfect line breaks and even lets you add different fonts. Wave helps you create snippets of your content to share with your followers. They have closed captions and those cool little wavy lines. If you're interested in trying them out, click the links in the show notes to start using them today. Now, back to the show.
Oh my, so much. So much. And it's so much. And again, recovering perfectionism, or recovering perfectionist, I try to make sure that what I learn is just information and not an
Mm,
indictment. You know what I mean?
wow.
And so I'm not like, well, I learned that I'm this way, and so I must be bad, but no, I'm
Wow.
showing you something about yourself for you to change,
Yeah.
and so for me, again, I learned that I'm a perfectionist. And so taking that away and being okay with the pace that God has me going has
Mm,
been immensely helpful for me. Being okay with the kinds of relationships that I have, being okay with my own personality.
yeah.
Like when I started with Ali Watson Media, again, trying to understand what it would take to have a successful business, and what my ideals was, I could not be introverted. I'm very
Mm,
introverted,
mm,
maybe not very, I can be, I get some energy for people, but I definitely need to go and refill, but
yeah.
I'm very relational, and so even though I'm introverted, I go deep with people, and that has served my business, you know,
Mm,
um, being able to distinguish between, like, I follow the love languages. I love the 5 love languages, and recognizing how that shows up in business. And so if I get, applause and accolades, I take that and I'm like, yes, I'm doing a great job. But then also, if someone comes back with a critique, to not take that so personally. It's just
yeah.
either they're not understanding what I'm trying to show. It's not what they wanted, or, they just want to see something different, but it doesn't mean that I'm wrong or I'm messed up. It's
Yeah.
just it's just their opinion. It's just
Yeah.
their understanding. And so we take that information and we get to it. So, I say all that to say something that I've learned is that business problems are just personal problems in disguise sometimes.
Wow.
And that's not mine. I don't remember whose book I was listening to the other day, but I was like, that's intense. I'm gonna take
That
that
is good.
and apply that. But it really is. And I think, especially like I was saying, with being in just the private sector or the corporate sector or government, you don't have to deal with these personal issues that you have around your identity and your abilities. But when you become an entrepreneur, it's all brought to the light, you know? And so the pace at which I've done this has been okay for me because one, I've had to be built up because I know the level. And that's the thing, like you start something, you know, the level God's going to take you to. You're like, you know, this is going to be it. But you also know in the back of your mind that if it is it, the person that you are today is not going to be able to handle it. Yeah. Like they're not going to be able to handle. You're going to be burning bridges. Like, I've burned bridges. I've offended people. I've been offended. You know, and it's because of the baggage that I carried into baggage that I didn't even know I had. You know, things I'm learning about myself. That's like, you know, it's okay to have baggage. It's just, it's a fact. You know what I mean? It's not a part of my identity. And if I can separate my identity from these things that I'm like, these traits or personality things, or, you know, I don't know, obstacles that I'm dealing with, and just kind of deal with them or treat them from the scope of truth, you know, as opposed to like internalizing them, then I become a much better business person. And that shows up in like, I know for a lot of creatives, that shows up in pricing even. You know, like the ideas that you have about pricing and your value. And especially as a Christian, I'm like, I'm service-based, period. You know, and so like, so if I've been serving in church and I show up and I've been in these ministries and I'll be there till 3 a.m. wrapping ropes around my arm, and all of a sudden I'm like, that'll be thousands of dollars for me to do this thing that you really don't. You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, I can't do that to people. And it's like, yes, you can, because you charge the government thousands of dollars to do the work that you're not passionate about. You haven't studied as hard. Come on. You know, you haven't put your heart into, and it's not purposeful work. You know, like God didn't send me into the business sector to start. You know, I am there to serve people, but there's a leading against, you know, a leading that aligns with where I serve in the ways that I serve. So if I feel led to discount something, I will. But I also have to not discount the work that I have, because again, if you're looking at success in business, it's more than just the business. When I first started, my son hated my job, you know, and it's just like, well, I don't want that. You know, you're always working, you know, and I'm working so long, and I'm snappy, and I'm frustrated, and I'm not paying attention, and people not eating food. You know?
What are they eating? Did they eat?
Right.
Yes.
Somebody gonna do something, you know, I gotta work. Don't y'all know I gotta work? And it's like,
you are so in my house right now.
But it's, again, this is the perfectionism you were talking earlier. I was like, that's perfectionism. It's because you wanted to succeed so badly, especially when you've been charged. You're given this mantle. You know, it's like, God has given me this thing, and what I do is I succeed. What I do is I'm high achieving. So if God gave me this, I'm gonna go do it. I'm gonna do it in excellence. I'm gonna and it's like, He gave you that. But He also gave you motherhood. He gave you, you know, to be a wife. He gave you yourself, because that's a whole different topic. The way that we don't take care of ourselves, you know, and continue, you know, to fight for this success, but all the while, like, our bodies are deteriorating, our minds are deteriorating, everything's deteriorating, but you're fighting and forcing it. And you're not showing up your best because you're not taking care of the very vessel that is supposed to be being used to produce this result, you know? And so, I don't know. I don't even remember the question.
No, but I'm telling you, when I tell you that I started this, and I say to you, you know, it's not an interview. This is definitely just a conversation. And however it goes, like, I promise you, every interview that I do, I go into it and I say, Lord, like, somebody's going to get something out of this. However, whatever's supposed to happen, that's it. And for me, like, this conversation is not only something that I need. First of all, I always say this: every interview is for me, really. Like, his way of being like, okay, let me just show you again what you're supposed to be doing, what you're not doing. Hello, you know. So I'm going to send someone else so you can receive my message. Okay,
here's a message.
Right. So I know that, but I also know that there's people, which is again why I have other people. Well, not because it was really his idea. That's why he wanted other people on this platform, is because we all need to hear this, right? Because there is a lot of, you know, social media gets a bad rap. I
It
understand
does.
it because, it could be used to your benefit and it could be used to your demise, right? But
Yes.
it's this false perception that, whatever you post and whatever you're going, like what people see, they don't know what's happening behind the scenes. They don't know the struggles
Absolutely.
that you have. And I recently did a live where I was telling people, and my audience knows my story about my Bell's palsy. And
Mm,
most people who know me after 2002, this is all they've ever seen. So to them,
mm,
they don't know that there's anything different, right? But
mhm.
for them, it's like, oh, okay. But they don't know that the way I intentionally turn myself to make a picture
Mm,
so that my face doesn't look crooked, or
mm.
how I have to work myself up to be like, okay, girl, you got this. You're gonna put on this red lip, and you're going, like. But it's those
Yeah.
things that you looking at me, no one knows it, but I can see it, right? And that's
Yes.
a daily struggle that we have to literally continue to show up
Hmm.
happy, you know what I'm saying,
Yes.
productive. And as we talk about doing things in the private sector versus like entrepreneurship or working at your 9 to 5 in entrepreneurship, like wearing that mask every day is draining to try to
Mm-hmm.
have to show up, and you ain't even happy. Like you don't even really like your job. You're just doing
Nope.
it because you need a paycheck.
Yep.
And it makes it more difficult when you're doing it for yourself because you have to show up as your
Yes.
most authentic self on your good days and your bad days. It
Yeah.
ain't no, I mean, you could call out the work, but it's probably gonna cost you something. It may cost you a
Hmm.
little, it may cost you a lot, but it's gonna cost you to call out of your own job, right? Like, and you have
Yes.
to know those things, which is why we just kind of continue to like push ourselves. But no, like everything that you said has resonated with me in such a way that I'm like, okay, it is something I definitely know I needed to hear, and I'm sure that there's
Okay.
some audience members who needed to hear, other listeners that needed to hear it as well. One of the things that you did, I said something about it, and I want you to talk about it as well, is your book Secret Donut. So I read it, and it's because this weight loss journey is the pits. Like it really
Hmm.
is the pits, right? Um,
Hmm.
but I think one of the things that I really gathered from your book is that it's not about the weight, right? It's
No.
literally not about the pounds, and but it's how literally all these things that we have discussed today shows up in
Yep.
the taking care of yourself, like you said, or lack thereof taking care of ourselves, right? But
And
we're so fixated on what things should look like that, you know it just messes us up. So
wow.
in regards to Secret Donuts, like, and by the way, I'm going to put the link in the show notes, y'all, so y'all
Okay.
can get the book because it's so good.
Thank you.
Like I'm sure it came from you, but tell us about like that journey, like of like getting to a place of like being able to speak it. You know what I'm saying? Because I
Yeah.
think that has a lot to do with like your self-doubt shows up in so many different ways. And when we know that slaying self-doubt is about allowing, empowering women to walk into their purpose, right? And you're very
Mhm.
much so like getting over it so that you can get aligned and walk into your purpose as well.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with our stories and talking
Yep.
about the thing that we struggle with the most. And so I want you to tell us about that kind of that journey, and like what you would say to somebody. It doesn't have to be they're writing a book or,
Mhm.
wanting, having a podcast or whatever it is, but like, what would you tell somebody who's like sitting on their story because they're afraid to say it? Because that's really what it boils down
Mhm.
to. It's just, we just be scared. That's all, y'all.
Yeah. That's yeah. Thank you for those kind words.
Oh, you are welcome.
First and
Like,
foremost.
yes, I
Yeah.
loved it.
I love the book too, and I'm not, it's weird to say it, but it was for me.
Yeah.
I have been writing a book on fear for 10 years. Just like I still
Mm.
have that book on fear. And I got to about page 60. I just could not finish it. And so I was like, decided to pick up my pen, and I heard to write about weight. And I was like, what? It was like, write about this weight. And I was like, okay. And so, I set out and I started to write it, and it just kind of flowed through me.
Mm.
And I was just like, well, we're going to just tell the story and just go through like the journey of getting over my weight aligned with God and into my purpose. That's literally like my platform, because that's literally what he did for me through writing the book. And it's so funny because where I am currently is I'm 15 pounds heavier than I was when I ended the book, which like is like the ultimate test, because it's like, okay, so you wrote it, so how you gonna feel? How you gonna feel now? You gonna feel that? You know, you gonna stick by that? And it's like, you know, it's noticeable the difference in how I respond to that, but it also lets me know there's like another book that has to come from it, because again, it's not just even the taking care of your part self, or taking care of yourself part, but it's like just recognizing what your triggers are, what's happening there, or why you're doing the things that you're doing. So I start here and say that, you know, and I'm very transparent. Like, I won't say that I'm vulnerable because I've learned that I'm not in this season. I'm not vulnerable because I like to be safe. But it's helped me to understand my lack of trust in God, which also leads to my lack of trust in my husband, and leads to my lack of trust in people. And the lack of trust is because, again, I don't want to be rejected, you know? And so what does that rejection mean? That rejection means that it creates this doubt in myself. It creates this misunderstanding of my worth and value, which I had already acquired when I wrote the book. So I have to actually go back and read the book myself. Like, that's an assignment for me right now, because I have to remember what it was that God taught me about what he felt about me because of the season we just went through, you know, and I had to go through the season because he had to reveal to me how I can't treat his children, especially as a person that he's called to do the work that I'm called to do. The way that I treat people matters because I'm his hands and feet. I'm a reflection. My light is to shine and look like him, right? And so even in telling your story, it serves you too, because you have to look at it from a scope of understanding, and then let God shine a light into those deep, dark corners and crevices to show you why things are happening the way they're happening. So for me, it's always been about the weight, but it's never been about the weight, you know, in the way that I felt like, you know, as a fat kid, as a kid that, you know, was a high achiever, to crowd out the idea that I had a weight problem. It has revealed to me that, you know, no matter what I weigh, there's intrinsic value in me because I exist, you know? And so in writing the book, so we can get to the book. The book is Secret Donuts, A Journey to Getting Over Your Weight, Align with God and Into Your Purpose. And I called it that because, you know, I write in the introduction, like a story of how I would just go to the grocery store, secretly grab some donuts, eat them on the way home, stop at a trash can somewhere, dump the evidence, you know, and I would eat in shame. And it developed, and I was still doing it like deep into my marriage with children, but it's something that developed as a child because there was so much shame and embarrassment around my weight, you know, around how I looked and how I felt about myself, because it felt like people would not accept me unless I was smaller. So there became this quest, almost this idolatry of pursuing a smaller body, which is another reason God, you know, sat me down and was like, look, that's not what we're going to do. Like, I'm jealous, you know, and we don't have Asherah poles. We're not building altars of different, well, not us particularly, somebody might be, but I think as Christians, we fail to realize where our idols are, where we're elevating something higher than God. And some days I would try to get God to serve my idol of weight loss.
Come on.
You know, like I would write my journal for pages and pages and pages, not acknowledge him and who he is, and just be like, well, God, why'd you make me this way? Such and such had a baby. See, she snapped back. Where's my snap back? I nursed. They said nursing was good. You know, they said nursing get your
I did all the things, Lord.
You told me, God, and now look at me. I'm fatter than I was before. You know, I had these kids. I love these kids, but you know, and it's like, why are you so concerned about that? You know, and it again, your business problems are personal problems in disguise. It boils over into my business. And so when I say, you know, I talk about that gossiping thing, that's in my book. I literally had somebody who had a parallel life. Like, she's younger than me, you know, but the things that she was doing, I felt like I was supposed to be doing and I could be doing because I'm definitely capable. But the thing that was holding me back is because she had a six pack and I didn't. And so I would be so upset with her and so annoyed by her. And I got to mute her posting this, that, and the other. And everywhere I go, it's like word bomb. And I'm just talking about her, this, that, and the other. And so it was just like, I got convicted one day and was like, you can't That's not
Yeah.
productive. These people, it's like she actually looked up to me in a sense, and for who I'm supposed to serve and the call on my life. Like if I'm not in a space where I can handle that correctly, I'm out of order, and so what's got me out of order is not because I'm a bad person, because it's not an indictment. It's a revelation of you're putting this weight issue above who you're supposed to be in God. Like your purpose in life isn't to be skinny, snatched, in a bad B. Like your purpose is to get to the version of Alicia that I saw when I created her.
Yes.
And if you're not pursuing that, then you're out of alignment. Get aligned with me, get in order. Because once you get in order, you'll see that this isn't important, but what I have for you is so much better than if I were to just make you drop 80 pounds right now. Because what's going to happen when you drop 80 pounds?
I'm going to throw this other shoe.
But like, seriously, what's going to happen when you drop 80 pounds? It's going to be like this false confidence. Like when I was in high school, I was a cheerleader. All of a sudden we was working out 6 days a week and I looked up and I had lost like 100 pounds. And what? Yeah. For somebody who like, I had it all, I was like super smart kid, as class president, salutatorian of my class, captain of the cheerleading team. Like I had it all. And I didn't know what to do with it. And in the back of my mind, it's just like, I know I'm supposed to be doing something better, but I'm living this version of life, this high school teen movie version of life that I think I'm supposed to be living. I'm out of alignment, but this is what I've always wanted, right? There was so much suffering and pain that came in that season because I was trying to be like everybody else, trying to be for everybody else and not be myself, because this is what I had been chasing and I got it and I was not fulfilled, and so coming into this season, it's like God reminding me, you wanted that weight loss. It wasn't what you wanted then. I mean, it wasn't what you needed then. I have what you need, but you don't see that because you gain weight and you feel like that because you gain weight, you've lost value. You've lost no value, and, that showed up in my marriage. It showed up in my parenting. It showed up in my relationships. It showed up in how I treated myself, which is why I'm in the season where I am, is because the stress that I went through in 2020, I ate, and I slept. No, I didn't sleep. That's the problem. I ate and I didn't sleep. And people don't realize the importance of sleep and recovery and, in keeping yourself healthy. Like I barely slept for like the last 7 months. And so for me, I took the first quarter of the year off to sleep because it was like a writing of the ship. God's like, okay, something's wrong here. And it's because you're not taking care of you. And I need you as the vessel to be prepared for me. But let me also reveal to you even deeper of what this issue is. And so like, I had to go to the doctor because I was like, I'm gaining way too much weight too fast. I don't know if I'm pregnant. I don't know what's going on, and basically it was that like, I'm not sleeping, which sleep makes you gain weight. It makes you foggy, it makes you, like dreary. You can look it all up. And, I was just like, okay, so we got to put everything on hold and get back together because I can't fall apart trying to keep everything together. Like that's not what God has called me to, and as women, especially, we have to stop being martyrs. We're not Jesus. Like we take up our cross, but the cross that we're taking up is the things we talk about now. It's like slaying those doubts, slaying those egos, slaying all the things that keep us from being who God wants us to be. But it's not just piling a bunch of stuff on our back so that we can. But usually we're doing it for love and not from love. And that's the problem. Like we got to love ourselves, got to get that love from God and fill our cups up so that what we have can flow out, as opposed to like feeling like people are constantly pulling on us and we allow them to. There's a value that I found in writing the book that reminded me that I have this value that requires me to take care of myself, not just to lose weight, but to take care of myself. And so when I ended it, it's a whole health journey, not a weight loss journey, because I go to therapy too, girl. I love my therapist. My therapist wrote my foreword in my book. Like she's the bomb. And it's like, it's a whole health journey because again, it's the glory of God to conceal a matter and the honor of kings to seek it out. I'm trying to figure out who the wholeness of Alicia can be. Who's the Alicia that God saw? Who's the Alicia of God's dreams? You know what I mean? Like there's a version of me that he's like, that one, have you tested her?
Now she's ready now. And y'all know the story. This podcast was an assignment from God that had my self-doubt and limiting beliefs telling me that nobody will listen but you. Yes, you. kept showing up every week to listen to this podcast. And because you keep showing up, so do I. If you enjoy this podcast and would love to support me and future episodes, please consider making a donation by simply purchasing me a coffee. If you would like to donate, click the Buy Me a Coffee link. Now, back to the show. Your book literally, it definitely did the same thing. What it did is that I was able, again, because I'm visual, I can see it all. Like I was able to kind of see the journey, right? And I think in reading that, it forced me to stop looking at the number, right? And it was like, okay, you want to lose this weight, but are you healthy, right? Like that don't have nothing to do with all these other things that's going on, right? And because of reading your book, it probably took me, because I had to just convince myself that it was the right thing to do. But I invested in a health coach. And you're absolutely right. Like, it's your wholeness, because for the first 6 months, we didn't talk about food. We didn't talk about weight. It was my mindset. It was my habits. It was how I was treating myself. It was whether or not I was sleeping. Was I drinking enough water? Was I even eating? Right? Like, because when I talked to her, she was like, okay, so low hanging fruit. You are dehydrated and you're starving yourself. And so I'm like, I be eating. She's like, you eat once a day. Like, that's not enough. And I'm like, but I ain't really hungry. And so she's like, you are hungry. Your body is just used to being in starvation mode because you have not been feed. And I was just like, I didn't even, it didn't register to me that how I was treating myself. I would never tell my kids to just eat once a day. I would never tell my husband he should eat once a day, right? I'd be like, no, you need to get a snack, drink some water, do all of these things. But for me, I'm like, I'm good with this Pepsi.
No,
I'm gonna just drink a Pepsi 3 times a day and I'm gonna be good, right? And maybe a coffee in the morning. It was bad. But once my mindset changed and I was able to really, like you said, I focused on me and my health versus my weight, which I went to the doctors, and then I was like, okay, well, I gotta go see a cardiologist, and I need to go see my PCP, and get a chiropractor. Like, it was like all these different things, because especially in walking in your purpose, you're right. God wants the wholeness of you. And if you are not healthy in the way that he needs, he's not going to be able to use you to your full potential, because you
distraction.
Yes, you're going to be distracted. And the question is, like you said, can you handle it? If you do it for the wrong reasons, are you going to be able to handle it when it happens? Like, I want my 2002 body back. But if I was to get my 2002 body back, would it still be to walk in God's purpose, or would it be to be like, oh, you see my it took me about 12 years, but do you see?
Yeah, I'm definitely stunting. Right. I'm stunting. I'm flexing. I'm stunting. I'm not wearing clothes. I'm doing reels half naked. Like, it's not gonna be the right thing. It's not
gonna be the right thing.
It's not gonna be. And it's because it's like, this is what I've struggled for all this time. It's like, but you didn't have to. Like, there is, like I said, with cheerleading, I loved cheerleading, and I wasn't trying to lose weight, but it came off. You know what I mean? And so I need to find a way to fall in love with taking care of myself in that way, so that it will just fall off. But if it is the focus, if it's becoming my obsession, that is not honoring to God or to myself, because my reasons for doing it is, again, for love and not from love. Like, I need to love myself, and from that space of love, I will take care of myself. But if I'm constantly beating up, so how I've gotten where I was is because, again, that trust issue, not trusting God and feeling that rejection. I learned, even after going to my doctor, that I've rejected myself for so long. And what I was telling my husband, I was like, this is super meta. I don't know if you're going to understand it, but it's like, from a young age, I rejected my body, and so, like, with that health scare, because I didn't know what was going on, and the way they called me was super dramatic. Like, they need to come see you. Want to come in the morning or the evening? I'm like, oh my God, they're not. I'm sending texts. I'm like, pray for me, please. But it wasn't anything serious. Honestly, it was just like, you got to lose like 15 pounds, which is the 15 pounds that I gained. And I was like, see, body, you funny.
Right.
But the scare helped me to realize, like, man, if it was really something, like, if I really did allow myself to get to the space where I did not take care of myself enough, where it was something so terrible that there was a real threat of me not being here. Like the weight of that. And it's like, well, why would you let yourself get to that place? And I had to go deep, and it's like, because you rejected yourself, you rejected your literal body. I've accepted my mind. I've accepted my empathy. I've accepted my abilities, but my body, I pushed away. I stood with the crowd and I pointed at it. No, you know good. And that's another reason why I pursued it. I'm trying to accept it. Like you can come over once you lose 80 pounds. Like just do what you're supposed to do. And then we will accept you. We will, all of us. Not just them, but all of us. And it's like, well, how do you expect to lose weight if you're rejecting something? That's not even the space. So it's like, okay, God, I see it. So thank you for the wake up call. And now I'm going to love my body. So business or no business, we like, by the grace of God, he's always provided for us through this whole 7 years. It's like never been a lack. And I'm thankful for that because I know it's space to get over myself. But it's like, I'm going to take these 3 months and I'm going to sleep because that's what my body needs. I don't need to post on social media because like I haven't posted for like 2 years. And, I posted in my stories yesterday, like the same God and it's not my quote, but the same God that told you to start a business will send the clients. And that is my testimony. I get calls and discovery calls and referrals all day long. And I literally posted 6 times in 2020 on my feed and 9 times in 2019, like literally as a business page, and I'm never not working. I know that's only God. It's not anything it's what I'm doing because I do good work and I show up and I am who I am, which is a testament to the fact that I'm supposed to be doing it in the way that I'm supposed to be doing it. But I know God is providing me the time to get myself together. So I'm going to lean into that. I'm going to give myself that same grace that he's giving me. I'm going to show myself that same compassion that he's showing me and not allow the internet to rush me, the world to rush me, or my ideas of success to rush me into my own demise. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to rush myself into an early grave to prove what? To prove what? That I'm good at business? What is that going to prove? Like, it's even worse. It's like you work for somebody and then like they're going to send your like death announcement and then 15 minutes later send your job announcement out. But it's like, if it's just me, like someone else is going to be able to find somebody to do what I'm going to do. But my kids, my daughter said it like blew my mind because she's 8. She's only 8. She was like, I can't replace you. I can't get another mommy. And she said it so like, just so with ease, and it wasn't. It felt like the Holy Spirit in her. Like that's such a mature thing for you to say, but it was such a reminder. Like she really can't.
She can't.
She can't. You can't get another me.
And that's the thing that when we're going through, when you're having to deal with yourself, which is what Slaying Self-Doubt is about, is really the reflection of you. Is that you have to be able to understand that it's not just about you. It's about the people that's connected to you. And and it doesn't have to be your clients, right? It's your family, it's your children, it's your spouse, it's your mother, your sister. Like we are the one and only, right? That we are one of a kind. This is it. There will be no other Felicia Wallace. There will be no other Alicia Watson. Like this is it. Okay, somebody can have your name. That's fine.
That's it.
But that's it. We are ourselves. And so how you show up for yourself, how you show up for your family, it makes the difference. And the thing that I love about this conversation is that everything boils down to showing up for yourself, right? And doing the work for yourself and really taking inventory of who you are so that you know whose you are, right? Because it all at the end of the day, it all reverts back to him and saying that like he's giving you this gift, he's giving you this purpose, he knows you by name, he knows everything that you're supposed to be, but he's not gonna force your hand.
No.
And it's up to, like, we talked about control, we talk about perfection, but if he showed you and he's telling you what you can do, but if you ruin it, that's on you. And I feel you on my health thing. My thing was my heart. Like I knew I had cholesterol issues for at least 9 years. Like, and I was just like, what if I damage my heart so much that, and that was the part that scared me the most. Like, oh my gosh, like, what did I do? And by the grace of God, everything was fine and normal. But I was like, sis, okay, now that you know that you good, what you gonna do? Shots fired, right? Right. Yeah. Like, what you gonna do now? Are you gonna go back to drinking 3 Pepsis a day or not?
For real. But that is also like in the slaying of the self-doubt is like, again, changing that belief. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, no, you're not. But if you do it, it's not because you're a bad person, but we are the type of person that does not drink 3 Pepsis a day.
Right. Yeah,
you know what I mean? And and like, just continue to flood yourself with changing that habit is changing that mindset first. That's why I call my book a prerequisite to weight loss, because I know that if you pursue it from a place where you're not mentally really ready to pursue it, it's not going to end well. You're going to do it the wrong way. You're going to starve yourself to death. You're going to, you're going to overwork your body. You're going to put some strain on your muscles because you're forcing yourself in this place that to get to this goal that really isn't, you're not in the mindset to work it out right. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but you're not in the mindset
I get it.
to achieve it and use it right once you get to it, And so, and then if you work on your mindset, you'll realize that sometimes it's not even what you want in the first place. Like for me, when I finished the book, I didn't pursue weight loss anymore. I literally pursued whole health. I pursued like eating better. Like it was going to be a result of me loving myself. And so it became something that was even a non-factor. Like I'm not even worried about my weight. I'm not showing up, excusing my plate, y'all, man, what I mean? Don't worry about don't judge me. Like, what nobody was going to. Why are you calling attention to your plate? Like, but that's how I was thinking, so my mindset changed, my attitude changed. Like, even my husband noticed the change in me. Like, I was showing up, I was more confident and stuff, but when you change that mindset, like you have to keep working on it. Because like I said, when I was hit with this issue in my marriage, which is funny because the way that it went is that there was an emotional part and there was a spiritual part. And in as much as that emotional part was going in my spirit, I knew there was nothing happening really. It was really for a purpose of showing me like, you have these emotions, we need to talk about them and why you have them and what you do about them, and how you respond to people and how they respond to you, but I knew that me and Ray would be good, even in the midst of it, we were doing his podcast and we were talking to other couples and God dropped, like you said, he dropped one couple in an interview chair. Raymond asked me to sit down and they had the exact same struggle 10 years earlier. You know what I mean? So our issue was like Facebook, theirs was Black Planet or something. You know what I mean? So like I hijacked the interview. I was like, we gotta talk about this. I need all the details, but even just having the wherewithal to share our story, to ask someone else to share their story. And as we're sitting there listening to their story, it blessed us because we're 11 years in, they're 21 years in. So that gives us hope. You know what I mean? It's like, well, y'all can make it. It's the exact same story. Look what God is doing. And you asked me earlier to talk about, the fear of sharing your story. Your story is not for you. Your testimony is not for you. Like, it is for people to come to the understanding of what it is that God can do, like so many people follow Jesus for the signs and miracles, and I believe there's still signs and miracles being done, but in our lives, we are miracles. We are the sign that God exists, that God loves people, sometimes, and I felt convicted about this week anyways, but sometimes when God will put people on my heart to do something for, to say something for, or say something to, send a text or reach out to, and I do it. And it's just like, man, how did you know? Like I needed this, or right, and it's just like, wow, God is using me to show you that he's thinking about you, and so our stories, as bad as they are, as good as they are, whatever they are, is a way that God is using us to show people that he's thinking about them. That's like the premise of my podcast. It's like, maybe you're like me because, I'm a mess. Like I know that. And God is working the mess out, like he's showing me the mess, and it's like you're a mess, yes, accept that and understand that there's a better way to be. Like I'm leveled up to look like Christ because that's much greater, but in the midst of it, it helps people to see that, they could be like me and they're not alone in whatever they're going through, because I'm gonna talk about it. I'm transparent because I just know what God says about me. I know what he says I'm going to do. And I don't believe anybody can take anything from me, even if I do share it, and I think sometimes we neglect to tell our stories because we're trying to control the narrative around us. You know what I mean? But, and it feels like a lot to lose. Like if I tell you the truth about who I am, if I reveal what's going on, like you might reject me, you might take something from me, you might think of me differently, but you never know what your story can actually do for people. Again, you're safe, if you're being led to tell your story, trust God. Like he's got you, he's going to protect you on all sides, way better. Like you bring in a pocket knife, like you Michael Jackson beat it. You Michael Jackson beat it, with a pocket knife to the fight. He's got like a whole army, behind him.
Yes.
He's just standing there like, you just, shrugging, like, you're not gonna,
Like,
you're not gonna let me get in on this.
Right.
You're gonna take your pocket knife, you're gonna get in real close, right? All right.
Oh
you
my
go ahead and protect
gosh.
yourself.
Yes.
That's how I feel. So it's like I'm constantly telling myself, just click it, put it away, and let him show up, and let him stand behind you, and do what he's got to do. He'll work it out for you. You just go forth and be obedient.
Yes.
Even in telling your story. There might not be on platforms like ours, like we can tell our story to a lot of people, but if it's like, call such and such up and tell her, this, that, and the other, do that. Even, I shared something about, one of my parents to someone else who was going through something. She's like, I had no idea, but it makes me feel better, because it gives me hope. And I'm like, because it gave me hope. Because where I was 4 years ago was like, but here he is still here. That's a testimony. That's there's something in that. And it's because like at the time it was too much. At the time it was like, why God? But to have him here 4 years, and it's just like, okay, like, well, this is something we can share. Our whole lives are a story we can share, and just because it doesn't feel interesting, it's not like, some people feel like their testimonies have to be super dramatic and super crazy, what I mean? But your whole life is just a testimony. You had, something that you wanted, you didn't get it, you might have gotten it, what I mean? Like even that testimony.
But it's also bless somebody else. And that and like you said, that knowing that you're safe in your story, especially if God is calling you to do that you should, so that's one of the things that I'm going to take with me from this conversation, is reminding myself that I am safe, right? Like I think that that's so important when we think about our doubts, our fears, our insecurities, is that we're safe in him, right? He got us, he's carried us this far, he continues to provide and protect, and all of those things, continues to have you show up on the platforms that you need to be on, whether it's in entrepreneurship, as a wife, as a mother, as a sister, like you are continuing, he's giving you every single day, because you still have work to do, and he's got you. And so just reminding myself of that when I go into something new, scary, whatever, I'm safe. That's going to be the extra thing that I say to myself, is that I'm safe and I got this. Thank you so much, Alicia. Like this is, I promise you, at this point, I'm like, as we were talking, I was like, we're gonna have to do a whole nother one, because listen, I was like, I got more questions, but y'all know I do my very best to try to keep it under an hour, but I'm just like, I think we about to have a part 2, y'all, because this here was such a great conversation. Thank you so much for your openness, your transparency, like the gems you dropped, the preaching that you did. Like you set a couple of us free today. I just want you to
praise God, because that's what I prayed for. Yes. But I'm thankful for your platform again. I just, I think these conversations have to be had. Again, it's not just us that are feeling this way, and we're not bad people, if we feel this way, and we're not weak, we're not anything. It's just we have some doubts. We need to replace those doubts with some better beliefs and take action. And sometimes action is the replacement. Like Gideon, you just gotta walk. You gotta ask God, Lord, can you do this and do that? Show me,
and I'll be right back. And don't you move. I'm gonna go do this.
Right.
Tell them, don't move. You gonna be here when I get back. Let me go get what you asked me to get. And guess what? He was right there. But at the end of the day, he said, go with the strength you have. I am sending you.
Period. I'm sending you. Yes. Period. That's it. And I'm thankful for it, because I know you've set a lot of people free with the podcast and with your story as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So how can people connect with you if they want? I already told y'all gonna get this book, but whatever. But if they are, how can people connect with you to either listen to the podcast, or if they want to set up a discovery call with you, or they want to book you? How can they connect with you?
Oh my. Okay. So with my perfectionist tendencies, my personal website isn't done yet. So like I'm a perfectionist and a non-delegator, which is like a deadly combination of like procrastination, but it's halfway there. So I'm not going to say my website. My website is www.aliciawatson.com, but there's nothing there. So follow me on Instagram at the Alicia Watson. And you can, if you want to work with me in a photography or videography capacity, which I didn't really talk about, but if you do, it's www.aliwatsonmedia.com. I don't know why I'm saying www, but anyways. My podcast is Maybe You're Like Me with Alicia Watson. That's also in my bio at the Alicia Watson, or you can find it on Buzzsprout, Apple, anywhere you listen to podcasts.
Yes, anyway.
It'll be there.
Same place you find this one, you can find hers. Okay.
True.
Thank you so much, Alicia. I truly appreciate you just coming on and just this was a blessing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Oh, you're welcome. All right, y'all, that's all for this week. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to share, subscribe, rate, and review. Remember to head over to Facebook and Instagram and follow me at Slaying Self-Doubt. Oh, wait, don't forget, go to my YouTube channel and watch this episode, and remember to press the subscribe button. Until next week, see ya.